So this little bike here represents why I absolutely love doing custom build projects for our customers. This one had a very specific use case, very specific needs by the customer, and a very specific budget as well. And it really did make us think about how we're going to bring all this together. Now, the use case was an all-road, long-distance adventure bike that's going to take into the mountains of the Lake Districts. We wanted low-ratio gears, as lightweight as possible, but also wanted it to be super comfortable. And the rider really, really did want flat bars. A challenge for this is that we couldn't go to a traditional mountain bike gear ratios because it wouldn't be a high enough ratio. This customer had done all their research on exactly the gears that they use most frequently and what they wanted on their bike. And we had a fantastic sort of set of criteria to work from. And the mountain bike group set wasn't going to do it without doing some exotic stuff with cranksets and different types of chainrings. The road bike group set wouldn't do it either, even though you can get thumb shifters for some road group sets. The modern stuff just isn't hitting that mark. So this is what we went for. We started with a Cinelli King Zydeco frame, a fantastic gravel frame. I think it won Bike of the Year a couple of years ago or something, but actually works really good as a road bike and all road because you get loads of tyre clearance and actually a nice slack head angle, relatively short here as well. And it actually is just a fantastic bike. Really, really, really versatile. And most importantly, it was on mega sale at the moment, which left us loads of scope in our budget for everything else. Sort of the next obvious choice was the wheels. We wanted something really durable. So these are the DT Swiss 370s built onto their G540 rims. Now, this whole wheel set comes in at around 300 quid. And the internals of this are almost exactly the same as the DT Swiss 350. And in fact, if we ever have problems, we can just interchange those parts as well. So in terms of long-term serviceability, these wheels just tick all those boxes. Of course, wrap these up with Pirelli Cinturato, usually 35mm wide, running these at around 50 PSI, so super, super comfy set of tyres. Now, the big news on this is really this Shimano CUES group set. This is the 2x11 version, so the U8000 series. So we have this big 11.3 to 42 cassette here, and the rear mech has one of those clutch mechanisms as well, which just gives you a little bit more chain tension, so when you are on those rough, rocky roads, you're not having chains bash against all your carbon components. The chain rings up here, the shortest cranks they do is 170. It would have been amazing if we could get 165s, but sadly, just not available. The one thing that we had to change though was we had to switch out the Shimano CUES front mech for this Shimano SLX one. Isn't strictly compatible. We had to do this because we needed a high clamp and a bottom pull, which we just couldn't get with the Shimano CUES system. Now, the reason for that is because, like most carbon frames, this seat tube flares towards the bottom, and where the clamp is, we just couldn't get a good clamp around the frame. So this Shimano SLX one does the job. It actually works really well with the shifter. However, the actual cage isn't quite wide enough for the 11-speed link glide chain. So we do miss one gear. There's probably one, maybe two gears where there's just a little bit of chain noise. So rather than getting a full spread of 22 gears, we're probably restricted to more like 19 or 20. So I don't think it's a big deal. There's definitely no jump. We definitely get all the gear ratios in sequence. You just don't get a full use of every single gear in the cassette with every single gear at the front either. But it works, and it works really smoothly. What I do really like about the Shimano CUES system is on the right-hand shifter for your rear gears, you get the traditional thumb shifter and you get multiple release as well. But on the left-hand side, which I'd never really thought about before, in the whole product releases and everything else, they only have one lever. It's just change the front shifter, and that's all it needs to do. It needs to on or off. There's no need to have two things for your left hand, which I'd never thought about it. I thought, actually, that's brilliant. We just got one thumb shifter. It just either moves the front mech one way or the other, and it's as simple as that. I don't understand why it's taken so long to look through that in mountain biking. One little luxury here is we did upgrade the brakes. We had the opportunity of going for the Shimano non-series brakes to save some money here, but we actually went for the Shimano CUES because of the adjustability it gives us, and it gives us the ability to set the brake levers exactly where this rider wants. So we wanted a 2-finger lever, and we wanted to bring them fairly close to the bar as well. So with the Shimano CUES brakes, it gave us those options for real customization. It also meant that we can run the shifters with the iSpec adapters as well, which means that we get a lot more handlebar real estate, if you like, for adding Garmin mounts and lights and bells and that sort of thing, which when you start getting very narrow bars, that clamping area becomes really, really important. So one other criteria is that this customer really wants to run a handlebar bag at some point. So we had to make sure that the cables had enough room to be sort of squished out of the way and have a little handlebar bag mounted here as well. So this cabling is a little bit longer than perhaps always wanted, so that we can get a bag in there and not impact the shifting or the braking in any way. One downside of running mountain bike brakes on a road bike-ish frame is that you have to run various adapters. So here we've had to use flat mount to post mount 160 adapter, had to do the similar sort of thing on the fork, which is a fairly big and chunky and not that attractive looking adapter, but it does do the job. It means that we can run this system without having to do crazy things like swapping out entire calipers, etc. So that way we could keep the price down. And then while we're up here at the cockpit, we've used the Ergon GP2 Grips. Now, these grips I love because you can put them in so many different configurations. You can really just rest your palms on this if you want to. You can actually lift these up a little bit higher and just give a slightly different support, or you can drop them down. There's loads of ways you can configure these, but also you can change this little horn independently. And this just gives people with flat bar setups somewhere else just to rest their hands, give them a different position. And you can really set this up almost exactly how you want to. So there's so much versatility in this cockpit, just love it. And then lastly, a couple of little finishing touches, toe peak top tube bag, which bolts to the top tube here, which means you don't get any cables rubbing into your frame. And it's a really good sturdy system. You can zip it and unzip it without like shifting it around. Toe peak bottle cage, and of course the Shimano easy clip pedals as well, with a cage around them as well, making this super versatile for being able to hike your bike over various bits and pieces. And yeah, all in all, I am super chuffed with this bike. I think it's absolutely stunning. It's going to absolutely hit our design spec, I think. So time for you guys to tell me what you think about this little project. Total build cost came in a little bit over £3,000. And that includes all the time that we spent consulting with our customer, and of course the final bike fit before we cut steerer tubes exactly where they want them and setting up this handlebar, all those details taken care of. So down in the comments, tell me what you think, and more importantly, if you would do something different, I definitely want to know, because the great thing about this channel is that we're all here to learn. So if you've got something to add, get it down there, and I want to learn, and so does everyone else reading those comments as well. So until the next one, take it easy.